This is like the 12th time I've tried to record this podcast. The first time it just didn't record and it was a mess and I got really mad and I just quit for the day. And then I came back today and then had some more technical difficulties. And anybody that has tried to do a podcast or video themselves for any reason to put it out there to the world, you're going to have hiccups, you're going to have challenges along the way. So you got to come back after clearing your brain and start from scratch. But I'm here, I'm back, and I feel like this is a perfect segue into what I'm going to be talking about today. What I'm going to be diving into is dream setting at the highest level. How do we set our dreams and actually make them come true? I used to use the word goals, but it's kind of a boring word. It's overused. Yes, goals. Instead of goals, I'll use milestones. Milestones are markers on the way to our big, overarching dreams. Dreams reminds me of a Van Halen song, Dreams. And I turn that song on and I go nuts. It gets me focused and motivated and happy. I grew up in the 80s. Van Halen was like my go-to inspiration music. So if you've got your own inspiration music, then you should turn it on right now because we're going to dive into how to set dreams and make them become your own reality. So let's go. Let's roll the intro. Welcome to the Hairpreneur Show, the show that teaches you, the hair pro, how to work smarter so you can make more money, work less, and live a purpose-driven life on your schedule, not your clients'. I'm your host, Ryan Whedon, and each week I'll teach you awesome, actionable ways to tap into your personal greatness. It's time to unlock the next level of you. Let's go. Dreams. Is there a way that we can systematically move toward our dreams? Of course, the answer is yes. There is a way that we can start to take these visions in our head of our perfect future, our perfect day, and make those become our own physical, emotional, financial reality. There is a way to do this. And I'm going to break it down for you today. This is what is exciting, to know that there is a way to work towards achieving that dream. Now, I'm going to make a bold claim today. One of my current dreams, and I have a lot of dreams, and I'm sure you do too. One of my big dreams right now is to take this podcast and become the number one rated podcast, the number one sought after and listened to podcast in the hair industry. I want people to come to this podcast to learn how to write their mind, to learn how to strategize so they can start to live a life that they love, add more richness, add more fun, and start to create the life that they want on their schedule, not based around their client's schedule. When I was behind the chair full time, I was at the mercy of my clients for so many years. If they wanted to come in at 6 a.m. on a Saturday because they had to fly out for some event or something, I would come in early. I would make time for them because I knew that I didn't want to lose that client. And I didn't value myself enough to say, no, this is my schedule. If they were running late, I would stay later for them. I wouldn't put my foot down and say, I'm sorry, I can't take you because I have to get back to my family. I have to get back to my life. I would do whatever I had to do to keep that client. I know that when you're first starting out, you have to make some sacrifices. You have to put in the extra hours to really make that extra money to start building that clientele. But once you have a full clientele, that's when you have power. But the problem is a lot of us stylists, once we have that full clientele, our clients have already been trained, especially the ones that were with us from the beginning, that they can call us after hours. They can text us after hours. They know that we will bend our schedule to fit theirs. That is the issue. And then, of course, as we are people pleasers and creatives, a lot of us don't have a really strong business sense because it was never taught to us. Then we are doing whatever we can to make sure that our guests are well taken care of and treated like royalty. And I know that's important in the salon, but we also have to treat ourselves like royalty because we need to bet on ourselves. We need to value ourselves. And the more we value ourselves, the more value that we can put out into the world. That being said, we have dreams. I want you to start thinking about how we can make our big dreams come to reality. Maybe one of your dreams is not working behind the chair anymore and still making money. Maybe one of your dreams is working half the time in the salon, but making twice the amount of money. And that's going to take more than just skills. It's going to take the way that you set your mind. It's going to take how you talk to your clients and how you address your own schedule and cutting that line between business and personal. There are dreams and we need to make them a reality. So what I'm going to talk to you about today is how to go about betting on yourself. The first way to do this is you got to think big. You got to start thinking way, way bigger than a lot of your potential current dreams are. When I ask students sometimes, I'm saying, what is your dream income? Like, how much money do you want to make per year? Or how much money do you want to make extra per month? Like, what is going to make you really happy? And some of them are just so realistic in their reply. It doesn't really set the stage for something grand to happen. They might just say, I would love an extra $1,000 a month, or my goal is to make $60,000 a year. Right now I'm making 40. I want to make 60. That would change everything. And yes, I know that $20,000 extra a year is huge, but we're talking dreams here. We're talking, I want you to start shooting for the stars. And then worst case scenario, after all your hard work and dedication, you land on the moon, because you're still out of this world. You're still going for something that's just galactically huge. It might scare you, and it needs to scare you. If you think about somebody that shoots for the stars and might not always reach the stars, but actually has, we're talking about Elon Musk. He's a total genius. He's definitely a kooky guy, but he is changing the world. He's created SpaceX. He's done incredible things. He's betting on himself like crazy all the time. One of his big goals is to colonize Mars, be one of the first people to ever get on Mars, and then colonize Mars with his company. And he might just do it. He has done some incredible things, but he is, you can't tell him he's not living big. He's not dreaming big. He's not shooting for the stars. He's shooting for planets further out in our solar system. That is big thinking. If you think about Amazon started with book sales, and I'm sure they had these big visions. We just want to sell everything, and we want Amazon to be in everyone's home. That was years and years and years ago when they first started, but I guarantee you Jeff Bezos' goal was to be in everyone's home across the world, and he's pretty much done that. And now one of his new goals, one of his new dreams, is to have drone delivery with Amazon, so that we have drones flying through the sky, delivering packages to us in less than 30 minutes. Can you even imagine what that's like? That's a big, huge goal, big, huge dream, but he's going to aim for it. And he's been trying to do that since, I think, 2013. It's 2020, getting closer and closer. I just read a news report on it. Drone delivery is so close. It's going to be so awesome, but it's going to be so, so weird to see things just flying through the sky like spaceships. Apple, think about Apple as another big company, just hit the $2 trillion mark. I can't even wrap my brain around $2 trillion. I can't barely wrap it around $1 billion, but Apple had big goal, probably to be in everyone's home as well. And you don't reach the $2 trillion mark without shooting for the stars. And that's what they're doing as well. Now you might think, well, I'm not SpaceX, I'm not Amazon, I'm not Apple. Those are huge companies. Yes, but they started with one person. They started with somebody's dream, shooting for the stars. Your dream might not be to take over the world or to reach $1 trillion or to have drone delivery. Totally get that. But that doesn't mean that you don't have big dreams. That doesn't mean that you should start thinking much, much bigger than yourself. You need to think big. You need to come up with a goal, a dream, something that scares you, something that would just make you so unbelievably, undeniably happy inside if you were to ever reach that goal. And you shoot for that. That is what I'm talking about, thinking bigger. I talk about it in my book called Sweet Success, about how to think bigger. Think about being something much bigger than yourself. And that's how you get started with dream setting, goal setting. I'm just calling it dream setting from now on, because goals, the term goals, it's boring to me. I use milestones instead, because milestones are basically mile markers on the way toward your dream. So we've got this dream, and then instead of goals, we've got these mile markers called milestones that are getting you one step closer to your dream. And if you focus on that, thinking bigger than yourself, you're one step closer to making your dreams become a reality. Number two, you need to visualize yourself there, and you need to visualize yourself there winning. So when I talk about that, for me personally, when I think about how much I used to daydream as a kid, and even later in life when I was actually in the hair world, about in 2004, 2005, I saw my first hair show. And I went to the hair show, it was the ISSE show. I saw people on stage. They were dancing, they were entertaining, they were engaging with the crowd. They were getting everybody to jump up and scream and clap. And I just loved the vibe. I loved that that image of somebody being a platform artist, that they're showing a skill that they're an expert at, but they're also being able to satisfy that I want to be on stage acting kind of a feeling. And I always wanted to be an actor, and I actually was an actor, not a very good actor. It was a very short-lived career, but then I saw that this could be an outlet for me because I loved hair. And then I was like, oh, I can be on stage with this too. So I would start to visualize myself throughout the day, and I call it daydreaming. And I didn't even realize I was doing it until a couple of years ago, that I've been doing this for most of my life. I would just visualize myself winning on stage. I would be up there entertaining the crowd. I would be showing them things that would blow their mind. The crowd was huge. People are clapping, people are cheering, people have their phones up, taking pictures, just lights flashing everywhere. And I was on the stage. I was the star, and I was visualizing that every day of my life. And sooner than later, it came true. Yes, I had to do a lot besides just visualizing myself on the stage. But if you ever read about somebody like Michael Phelps, who was an Olympic athlete, Olympic champion, he broke so many world records with his swimming. And with interviews with Michael, coaches would see him sitting by the pool before a race after he was warmed up, and he's just sitting there, headphones on, thinking, completely imagining every single stroke of the race that he was about to take. He knew he could see it. He visualized himself winning before every race. So visualization is huge. You need to start visualizing yourself winning. Thirdly, begin with the end in mind. Great book. I don't know if you've read it. If you haven't, go grab it right now. It's called The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Came out years ago by Stephen Covey. It's incredible. It's a staple in many entrepreneurs' bookshelves. One of the points made in that book was about beginning with the end in mind. This is one of my favorite lessons in the entire book because it basically talks about setting a goal. Once you have that destination, that end goal, that end dream, where you want to be, then you just got to figure out how to get there. But if you begin with the end in mind, you can already see success. You see where you want to go, and then you can start working backwards from there. Okay, I want to take this podcast to number 1, for instance. How am I going to do that? How am I going to take this podcast to number 1? Okay, it's a very far-fetched goal at this point. I'm only on episode, 12, 13, 14, something like that. I got a long ways to go. Some people have been doing this for years, and they're on like 256. Some people are on like 4,080. There's a lot of catching up for me to do before I actually start to compete with these big boys. But if I know where I want to go, I can start to think about, okay, this is where I want to go. How am I going to get there? Okay, first thing is maybe more consistency with my podcasting. I know that hasn't been very consistent. Maybe shorter, more concise points and strategies so that people with limited time can get in, listen, get what they need, and take off. And then you work on these different milestones along the way. But if you know where you want to go, you can try a bunch of different ways to make it happen. And it's kind of like the analogy throwing spaghetti against the wall, where once that spaghetti is on the wall, you're going to find out what sticks. And some of it will stick and some of it will fall off. Whatever sticks, whatever's working, you put more focus on that. You put more emphasis on that, and you follow that path and see how that unfolds. So that's why it's very important to start by beginning with the end in mind. So once you know where you're going, you're going to figure out a bunch of different ways to get there. Fourth thing you want to do, own it. Once you have your dream, once you're more and more clear on what it is, you got to share it. You got to market it. You got to tell your friends about it. You got to ask for help if you need help moving toward your dream. And you don't have to have it pinned down to on January 4th, 2025, I want to have this much money in my account. I want to have this kind of car. I want to have 14 kids. You don't have to be that specific. It's more about visualizing how you feel, visualizing key points in what your future life looks like if you've reached these particular goals. So for me, when I was younger and not on stage yet, entertaining crowds, I wanted to be on stage entertaining crowds. So I would just see myself succeeding on stage, going up there, not failing, winning on stage, getting everybody laughing, crying, whatever I wanted to, basically controlling the whole experience so that people could leave and feel uplifted. And that's how I wanted to be on stage. And then it actually happened. It came true. And you know what? The first time I got on stage, that's exactly what I did, because for years I had been visualizing myself winning. And it's incredible how that works. If you haven't watched or read the book, The Secret, it's all about putting that energy into the universe. And somehow, weirdly, that energy comes back and starts to work for you. Now, when you own your dream, owning your dream is about once you are clear on where you want to go, you got to share it. You got to market it, because if you build something great and it's just game-changing, world-changing, it could be the most incredible creation on the planet. Nobody's going to come if they don't know about it, right? Same thing with your dream. If my dream was to get on a stage, which it was, and to be in front of thousands of people, which it was, nobody was giving me a stage. So literally, I had to create my own stage, and that's Masters of Balayage. Nobody was giving me that educational opportunity, so I said, screw it. I'm going to build my own education company, and I'm going to be a star on that stage. That is more literally about how to create a stage for yourself. I actually created an actual stage for myself and gave myself an opportunity, but it can simply be that you are wanting to have more clients. If you want to have more clients, you really own that you want to have more clients. You need to really own that you're good enough for more clients. You need to go walk up to people on the street and say, your hair is awesome. I'm awesome. I want to do your hair. I mean, don't say it in a cocky way, but I think you know what I'm saying. Confidently go after your dreams. Confidently go all in and own your dream. Share it with the world, just like I'm sharing with you that I want to take this podcast to number one. Don't just build it and expect things to happen for you. You need to build it, and then you need to sell it. You need to market it. You need to get it out there so that people can appreciate it, all that value that you've worked hard to put out into the universe and into the world. So I give you permission. Go out there and do it. Share it. Own your dream. I hope you enjoyed these lessons today. The first one, we need to start thinking bigger than ourselves. Shoot for the stars. Hey, worst case scenario, you're landing on the moon, but you are going for it. Second, start visualizing yourself winning. You don't need to go meditate and do all that stuff. If you can, great. But all you got to do is, if you're standing in line at the grocery store, if you're bored at DMV, if you're doing a root touch up and it's just so repetitive that you're thinking about other things, start daydreaming. Start visualize yourself winning in your dream state. Third, begin with the end in mind. Once you have an idea of what you've been visualizing for your dream, then you can start to work backwards from there and create milestones to get you closer and closer toward making that dream become a reality. Fourth, you got to own it. You got to own that dream. You got to sell it. You got to market it. You got to share it. You got to ask for help when needed. Those four things will really get some momentum going, and we can start to break it down even further from there. But honestly, for creative minds like us, we got to go. We got to start to visualize it. We got to start to feel it emotionally. And then we start to feel supercharged, and we can make things happen. Now, guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode today. Please do me a favor. I would be remiss if I didn't ask you to take a screenshot of this if you're listening to it on your phone and share it on social media. Share it with your friends, because you know what? I'm owning my dream, and I hope you support that as well, just like I support you in your journey. So if you can please share this episode on social media, please tag me at ryan.weeden. That's RYAN.WEEDEN. I would greatly appreciate your support to help me take this podcast to number one. Thank you so much for listening. Till next week.